Welcome to Cyber Threat Intel, your go-to source for the latest updates, news, and insights on cyber threats. Our goal is to arm you with the knowledge to protect yourself in the digital age, whether you're a cybersecurity professional or just curious about the threats lurking in the digital shadows. Make sure to subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast listening platform to join us on the front lines of cybersecurity, because in the world of cyber threats, knowledge is power. Welcome. This is Cyber Threat Intel. I'm your host, John Good. This is episode number 56. And it's Tuesday, June 25th, 2024. Glad to have you here. If this is the first time you're checking out the show, welcome. If you're returning from another episode or some other content, glad to see you coming back to keep getting your fix of cyber threat intel. Now, with that being said, if you need to grab a snack or a drink to get you through the content, make sure you run and do that before we keep going. And then also, if you want to see the articles that we cover in this episode, in other episodes, or just some other articles that we add that are important reads, then make sure to head on over to cyberthreatintel.com. Again, cyberthreatintel.com, and you can find the feed and all the information on our website. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and flip on over to my screen and get into the content. All right, so first article here, Lanova USA discloses data breach impacting 130,000 individuals. Medical device manufacturer Lanova USA is sending notifications to 130,000 individuals, warning that their personal information was compromised in an October 2023 data breach. The incident, according to a notification letter to the impacted individuals, was identified on November 19th, roughly 1 month after hackers breached its network. Lanova says it took certain systems offline in response to the incident without sharing further details on the nature of the attack. In December 2023, however, the Lockbit ransomware gang claimed responsibility for the incident and for the theft of 2.2 terabytes of data from the company. And one thing that I want to point out here too is this whole idea that the attackers were in there for 1 month since they breached the network. Keep that in mind. We've talked about that on several times on this show, that when you identify that you have a breach, it is very unlikely that the attackers just got in there. Almost always, if they are inside your network and you find them, they've probably been there for a little bit. And so you need to take that into account as far as your incident response process and how you actually recover. Back to the article here. According to Lanova, its investigation determined in April that the hackers stole personal information from its systems, including names, addresses, dates of birth, phone numbers, email addresses, social security numbers, medical information, and health insurance information. So one thing that is nice, at least, is if you're able to determine what kind of data was exfiltrated, what was taken out. A lot of times you can put alerts on these different storage systems, so you can see when people are exfiltrating data, downloading it, those kinds of things. So at least you understand what has been taken. That's one of the huge issues. If you don't know it all, then you're in a really bad situation, because you don't know who to notify, you don't know what's been compromised, and you have no insight into how your network is actually operating and the security of it. Back to the article, it says the notice also revealed that the hackers first accessed Lanova's systems on October 26th, again, nearly 1 month after the ransomware attack was discovered. As we just mentioned, that if you find hackers in your network, they didn't just get there. They've been there probably for a little bit. We had an article the other day where it was they were in there for 3 years. So keep that in mind. They are in there, and that's why constantly trying to do checks and having baselines of network activity and all these things are important, so that even if you don't catch them maybe necessarily on day one or prevent them from getting in, over time, certainly you're going to identify these anomalies in your network, and then hopefully you will catch them sooner than later. So you're going to see a trend with a lot of articles in today's episode for sure. So it's a lot of breaches. Next breach, 30 million potentially affected in TicketTech Australia cloud breach. Shiny Hunter's cybercrime gang has claimed another victim, this time in Australia. The group recently posted information on a dark web forum that says about 30 million users of TicketTech Down Under's top live events ticketing organization. TicketTech Entertainment Group, TEG, has already disclosed the breach in late May. According to a statement on its website, it noted that information has been heisted via an unnamed third-party cloud provider, with hackers making off with customer names, dates of birth, and email addresses. No user accounts were compromised, and payment information wasn't caught up in the incident, TEG stressed. So it sounds like another group that understands what kind of data they have, where that data is, and the data map and data flow of all that information, which is good if that is true, right? They could just be saying that, but certainly a good thing if you know that. Article also says that breach was also, and this is about the previous breach, that breach was also due to the compromise of a third-party cloud account, which was quickly revealed by researchers to be Snowflake. So we've talked a lot about the Snowflake breach and how all of that took place and why that took place and things that you can do to prevent that. But this is just kind of a follow-on thing. If you've never heard me say this before, when you get breached, you're always going to get tested again. It doesn't matter what company you are. It doesn't matter what you offer. It doesn't matter how much security you've put into place. You're going to be retested for sure. It's 100%, basically 100% guarantee that you are going to get tested again. And so you have to be ready for that. You have to put controls into place and do all the things you need to do, but understanding that you are going to be tested again. Back to the article, the attackers targeted low-hanging fruit cloud accounts that lacked multi-factor authentication MFA using credentials from previous breaches, and this is about the Snowflake breach. Some of the passwords hadn't been rotated for 3 years, according to a recent analysis from Mandiant. So that was a huge issue in the Snowflake situation. And certainly those are standard controls that you should be implementing. These are best practices, things that in a lot of cases, especially if you are a newer organization or newer efforts, it's not really excusable to not have those kinds of controls in place. And certainly if you're a vendor, so if you are creating software or services, cloud services, things like that, then these are things that you should certainly implement into your product or into your service. Because think about this, if you have a product or a service, okay, let's say a software application, cloud service, and you don't allow these features even, because there's applications out there that literally don't offer or allow multi-factor authentication. And that is crazy. That is so bad in today's world that I can't believe it. If you are offering a software service, an application, you darn better allow this stuff. And hopefully you allow even just the basics of these best practices. So password complexity, password length, password reuse, password expiration, multi-factor authentication. These are such core standard things when it comes to passwords in today's world that if you don't offer these to your customers, you're just asking for a breach. You're just asking for some kind of liability lawsuit because you literally haven't done due care in the first place, let alone due diligence. So who knows what you're doing as far as security as you're, evolving as a business. Maybe you're still not doing anything. And so there's just so many concerns with it. I don't want to, press on that too much, but it's a serious concern. And as a cybersecurity professional, you should really be aware of those applications or services that don't allow that. And you should be very adamant to your stakeholders to not use those kind of services because it's a really bad idea. So just wanted to make sure that we cover that because that is such an important point that sometimes we maybe overlook, but it is important that you do not. It is so crucial in today's world with everybody getting breached. Next article, surprise, surprise. Multiple car dealers report disruptions to SEC due to cyber attack on software company. Several large car dealership companies in the U.S. filed notices with regulators on Friday in relation to a ransomware attack on CDK Global that has stymied work at thousands of dealers across North America over the last week. Lithium Motors, Group 1 Automotive, Penske, and Sonic Automotive warned the U.S. Security Exchange Commission, the SEC, that they're all facing disruptions because CDK Global had to shut down its systems in response to the attack, which began last Tuesday. So about a week ago. The company's flagship products provides a software as a service platform used by dealerships to manage customer relationships, sales, financing, service, inventory, and back office operations. So basically everything that they do, their entire business, minus the people. Sonic Automotive noted that as of Friday, it's still unknown the extent to which the threat actor accessed any customer data. Group 1 wrote that CDK believes the dealer management system will be restored in several days and not weeks. The company will only know whether its finances are materially affected based on the amount of time the system is down. Obviously, because they're not going to look probably at a daily number. They might, because certainly if you're dealing with transactions like that, you'll know how much you're making per day, and then maybe you extrapolate that out and you can kind of estimate how much you are most likely going to lose. And then certainly when you get to the end, you can say, okay, well, these are our numbers. So month over month, we're down 30% or whatever it is. And you'll be able to kind of calculate that out. But this is a serious issue. When you're so reliant on software to do all your operations, especially your critical operations, might not be the best idea to put all your eggs in one basket and just use one piece of software. Maybe you want to diversify and use some different pieces of software. Use something to do your finance stuff. Use something to do your customer relationship management, your sales calls, doing all these different things and using different softwares. So at least if you face a cyber attack or the company that's providing the software faces a cyber attack, it doesn't completely disrupt every single thing that you do. When that happens, you're literally just going to sit there and be like, I can't do anything. I can't take payments. I can't process financing. I can't do background checks. Can't do credit checks. I can't whatever. I can't look up my sales data. All of those things are directly related to systems that you'll use. And so if you are using a single system for all that, kind of an all-in-one system, like we see a lot of these providers create, there's a lot of risk in that, especially if it's not, very secure. But even if it is secure, we can't prevent everything. So keep that in mind when you're making decisions about the software that you want to use. Bloomberg reported late on Friday, and this is part of the same article, that CDK is negotiating with the ransomware gang behind the attack, which Bleeping Computer later reported to be the Black Suit ransomware gang. Black Suit is a rebrand of the Royal ransomware group that launched a devastating attack on the city government of Dallas last year. All right, let's keep moving here. Next article, surprise, surprise, another one here. Lockbit claims the hack of the U.S. Federal Reserve. Lockbit ransomware group announced it had breached the systems of the Federal Reserve of the United States and exfiltrated 33 terabytes of sensitive data, including Americans' banking secrets. The Lockbit ransomware group added the Federal Reserve to the list of victims on its Tor data leak site and threatened to leak the stolen data on 25 June 2024 at 8:27 and 10 seconds UTC. The group hasn't published any sample of the stolen data, and there's a quote here: "Federal banking is the term of for the way the Federal Reserve of the United States distributes its money." So, if you don't know, the Federal Reserve is extremely important in the United States. It's very centered around our money and our economy and all those kinds of things, and so it is very closely guarded. It's one of those really important things that we have that we can't just afford for it to just go away. And so it is interesting that attackers would go for something like this. And certainly being a government entity, especially such a critical one, you better believe that if you're part of this group and you're a part of this attack and they find out, they're just going to hammer you, right? They are going to not show any mercy or compassion for your actions. And they're going to come after you. They are not going to play around with this one. There's a quote here. It says 33 terabytes of juicy banking information containing Americans' banking secrets. You better hire another negotiator within 48 hours and fire this clinical idiot who values Americans' bank secrecy at $50,000. So interesting. And they put a screenshot here, and that was a quote from the posting from the group. But you can see, if you look at the article, you can see the screenshot that they provide from the website, and that is right on there. So it's, yeah, I mean, this one's going to be an interesting one. I feel like if they indeed did grab information or were able to get into the Federal Reserve, and if they find these people, because they're getting really good at finding people that are doing this stuff, because they're just going to, like I said, they're going to hammer you. They are going to just punish you. It's not like you're just going for some, supply chain company or grocery store or something like that. You're going for the government of the United States, and they're just gonna. It's like the whack-a-mole game, right? The game at the arcade where you hit the moles with the mallet thing. They're just gonna hit you. They're gonna hit you hard. In early June, the FBI informed victims of Lockbit ransomware it had obtained over 7,000 Lockbit decryption keys that could allow some of them to decrypt their data. So I think that's another interesting thing with all this ransomware is ransomware only has a certain shelf life, because one of the things that we're going to see over time is that we're going to see things like quantum computing increase. And even if the government just has quantum computing and not individuals, that's going to allow them to very quickly decrypt information and process these, extremely complex mathematical algorithms, and, eventually maybe break the ransomware. But it's just all in all, ransomware has a shelf life. And so I think these groups are trying to do is they're trying to maximize it and do it as often as possible so that they can really get as much benefit as possible from these different situations. All right, let's keep going here. Surprise, surprise. Another one here. Indonesia says a cyber attack has compromised its data center, but it won't pay the $8 million ransom. Indonesia's national data center has been compromised by a hacking group asking for $8 million ransom that the government won't pay, authorities said Monday. Cyber attack has disrupted services of more than 200 government agencies at both the national and regional levels since June 20th, said Samuel Abrijani Pangurapan. I'm not sure if that's how you say it. Sorry if that's not. The director general of informatics applications with the Communication and Informatics Ministry. Wurjanko said the company, in collaboration with companies at home and abroad, is investigating and trying to break the encryption that made the data inaccessible. So for the government, Communication and Informatics Minister Budi Ari said Tayadi told journalists that the government won't pay the ransom. So I think this is just interesting in general, this whole idea of not paying ransoms. We've seen a lot of companies try to combat this and try to do this. So they say, well, we're not going to pay that ransom. We're not going to do that. We're not going to give in. Sometimes their data gets leaked. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it gets sold off to other attack groups or other groups. So there's all kinds of things that can happen. We've also seen countries such as Australia starting to implement and enforce regulations and laws saying you cannot pay ransoms, or if you want to pay the ransom, you need approval from the government. And so there's all these different things that are in motion with ransomware, and we're still trying to figure it out. We're still trying to find the best way to go about it. But one thing that is absolutely happening is we're getting better at it. And the law enforcement is getting better and better at tracking these people down. So that's probably the best part about it, because we see a hack, then we see people being brought to justice. So it's getting pretty rapid as far as that. They'll come to whatever country you're in, doesn't matter, and certainly other countries are going to be more helpful than others. But they are getting good at crossing the ocean and going to all these different countries and tracking people down, bringing them back to justice. So we'll see what happens with that. It'll be interesting for sure. So with that being said, that's the last article for today. Again, this is Cyber Threat Intel. I'm your host, John Good. This is episode number 56, and it's Tuesday, June 25th, 2024. If you want to see all the articles that we covered in this episode, make sure to head on over to cyberthreatintel.com. Again, cyberthreatintel.com. You'll be able to find all that information there. With that being said, let's go ahead and wrap it up for today, and I'll see you in the next one. Are you tired of overpaying for cybersecurity training? Are you interested in training from industry professionals? Are you looking for cybersecurity career services? If you answered yes to any of those questions, then cybertrainingpro.com is the perfect platform for you. At Cyber Training Pro, we're a one-stop shop for all your cybersecurity needs. We can train you for industry certifications or just improve your overall knowledge and skills in a certain area. Unlike other platforms, we don't stop there. We can also coach you throughout your career, practice your interview skills, or create a high-performing resume with our career services. CybertrainingPro.com isn't just another training platform. Students get exclusive access to our private community where we go beyond training courses to provide additional content, tips and tricks, and engagement with both other students and staff. Look, by the year 2025, there could be as many as 3.5 million job openings in cybersecurity. With so much opportunity, why not maximize your career potential with a platform that cares about your success? Come join us at cybertrainingpro.com and start building your future today.